Mel,
Brandon,
great to see you.
great to see you also.
So we had to get together.
Yes, we did. What is this? Which episode's this?
42.
Wow, I can't believe it didn't shut us down by now. I mean, my God, we got to start striking harder and faster.
Harder and faster. No, we had a lot of Facebook comments or messages rather this week saying, "Hey, you guys going to get together and talk about college? What the hell's going on over there?" And I said, "Well, yeah, we'll get freed up and we'll do it." And so
Now that we're here,
So big news: Cowley College Trustees Juden resigned, and then a day or two later, a few days later, Jill Long resigned, and the whole board flip-flopped. So they had kind of it's always been kind of a 3-5 battle, 4-4 battle between the board members, and but now it's completely flip-flopped. The group that was generally in power are no longer in power because two of the 4 or 5 resigned, and I think one of them, Sanderholm, kind of flipped. He kind of always followed suit with the original, and now he's partaking with Gary Wilson and
Doc Arnett.
Doc Arnett's in there now, and Zimmerman, Glennis Zimmerman.
Yeah,
So,
evidently they're boisterous enough where they're making some waves, stirring things up.
so best wishes to those two resigned. I've been there. It sucks. It's a hard thing to do, but if you can't handle it, you got to get out. And sometimes that's the best, and sometimes it's the best for the public too. So don't carry too much guilt with that. But what do you think is going to happen going forward? I mean,
With the college?
yeah. I mean, it seemed like, and I mean, I may be speaking a little out of turn here, but I think the way it seemed to operate the last several years is Riddle controlled the board. And I don't know that he's going to have that ability now with Doc Arnett in there, and then the other 3 kind of swelling around the idea that Doc's going to have the leadership to run the college.
And I look at like the economic clouds are gathering around them. You know, this strike of the gavel, and they can impose another damn property tax on us, and all of a sudden they've stretched the tolerance of the people to the max. We're tired of it and tired of stuff like that. You know, where's the value added? What do we get for this money that you keep taking? Oh, it's only $11, only $10. I don't give a shit. All the money we're paying to this stuff, and what are we getting back out of it? What do we think we're getting? What are we supposed to get back out of it? We don't even know for sure. You know, they're so heavily taxpayer supported. I mean, when they're way over 90% taxpayer supported, that we know of by their calculations, what right do we have as far as where our money's going? They don't want us to talk about it. They limited us from going to meetings. They think that they have the power, which is just audacity to me, to think that they can just impose these taxes on us.
And they have, Mel. It's
And
not.
they have
It's
for
not just a
years.
matter of whether or not they think they can do it, but they have. And you know, I guess where I'm going to end up on this whole topic is, you know, there's been a great groundswell of folks that have went and signed petitions, and I don't know that they're at the 950 some petitions that was required, but they're definitely 700-800 at the moment, and based on my latest count. And I think, Mel, what you're going to find is we're going to probably challenge this new regime or the new board anyhow to back up, because you know, a lot's changed since you guys voted that in the last, what was it, 60 days ago or something now, probably. And you know, there's been a lot change, and you know,
mindset has changed. Plus, economic landscape has changed dramatically.
Now all of a sudden we went from a booming, thriving Trump economy to back to where we were under the Obama administration, where we got plenty of unemployed and we're struggling to make ends meet for a lot of folks.
And the real problem with the unemployment is it's the actual working people are becoming unemployed. During the Obama time, there was a lot of people were employed, but you know, half of them were employed by the government. So now this happens, and the government feels they're so essential. None of them get laid off. They may not go to work every day. They may work from home, but nobody got laid off in the private sector. Everybody's took a hit.
Sure.
Everybody's taken a hit. And the public sector, nobody takes a hit. So all of a sudden the parity starts going. Hey man, we don't like this.
So I mean, if you were a trustee, and given the circumstances that we're at now, and I believe there's already 2 of the 8 trustees that had also signed the petition to revoke the automatic property tax increase. 2 of the 8, and so now there's 2 of 6 because I know the 2 that resigned didn't sign it. So, do you think the other 4 that are on there would reconsider their idea of backing up on this deal? What do you think they'd do as a trustee? What would you do, or what do you think they'd do?
Well, I know what I would do, but which is almost irrelevant. But I see what they have done is they did back up. As soon as they lost favor, they cut and run. So, frankly speaking, if your position was so good, or your position wasn't stable, if you couldn't argue it and you couldn't make your point stick, and you weren't willing to stay and fight it out, then obviously you're on some pretty damn thin ice. So as soon as they did lose traction, momentum, and favor, they all cut and run for what we're talking about right now. They see the changing tides. They see the changing winds. It's a different landscape. It's different.
So do you think it would be? You think it'd be wise of the trustees to consider backing up on that and maybe not increasing our property tax increase?
If cooler heads were to prevail, we talk about numbers and what are numbers. If they would really sit back and if they would tear apart the budget the way it should be torn apart and look at each entity on its own and its own merit and what it actually produces and what it doesn't produce, they could do all kinds of things. And possibly they might get into that, seeing the pushback from the people against this what I call is unwarranted
tax increase. And I don't know, and I hate to just throw all government employees into one particular sector of not seeing the big picture, but as somebody that employs people and has to hire people and fire people, the gravity of today's situation is really, really thick. And I don't know. I feel like when you watch our Kansas governor or some of the other governors across the state and other politicians, they're just not taking this that seriously, that we have to lay off people for what are we at, 40 days now or something? I mean, it is outrageous. And the gravity of the situation is so thick, and it's unreal.
They didn't base off historical trends. They didn't base off anything because it's a known fact that quarantine doesn't work. It's never worked.
Yeah, and we've talked that and we can get into that, but I want to know if the trustees, because I have a hard time believing they would have. I mean, I know all these folks.
Well, it meshes together to my sense is that because the government bureaucrats say it is so, and they refuse to challenge it. They just want to say, well, if that's what he said, then that's what it is. When they let the belief go with the government, no matter how many times they screw around, any lie, cheat, steal, tax, whatever they do, they keep going that direction.
Doesn't matter how many Watergates there are,
it doesn't
WMDs.
Doesn't seem to make any difference. We always believe them first. Everybody else is a conspiracy theory, some kind of nut. Well, of course they've got to have the money for that roof. How else are they supposed to get money? Well, the same way everybody else does. You scrounge it up.
Your insurance ponies up some money of it, and you pony up the rest.
And whatever it takes. If you got to tighten up a little bit or change, rearrange, for God forbid, can you think about structuring different?
Yeah, or maybe getting rid of some of these campuses that are dead weight to you.
God, or even how much of your upper staff is dead weight? How many non-contributors do you actually have during an 8-hour workday? How much work is actually done? Because when you watch the bureaucrats versus the private sector, where we have a bottom line mentality, we have to look at the bottom line. $1 has to make $1. Well, actually, $1 spent has to make $1.15 or $1.06. For them, $1 spent means you get another $1. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have the relativity that our stuff does.
And the government's going to get their money regardless, whereas we don't. It has to be earned week in, week out, just like all of our viewers. I mean, you guys go to work, earn your money, and there's no guarantees. Whereas, cities, colleges, all them folks, they got their thumb on you, and they're going to collect their tax dollar regardless. And it's pretty damn interesting. It's a different dynamic.
One of the previous police chiefs came to the office one day, and he was talking about enforcing or arming all of his officers with the same powers that the highway patrol had, as far as stopping trucks and checking on weight and checking on tire pressure and brake fluid, all that stuff. And he thought that was such a great idea. Tom's week, he wanted me to endorse it. And I said, well, absolutely not. I said, you don't understand. These guys are professional truck drivers. That's all they do for a living. We're a construction company. This is what we do. We hook onto a trailer and go to a job site 5 or 10 miles away. And if that trailer isn't 100% ready to go today, you're right, it's probably not. And for us to be restricted to these extreme highway regulations, it just doesn't work. And we're having this argument back and forth. And he starts saying, well, your problem is you're not budgeting enough money for your transportation. I said, budgeting money? What does that mean? He said, well, you have to budget money. I said, we don't budget money.
You ever followed any city trucks with trailers around town?
I know.
Shit, they're in worse shape than a lot of ours. So
they talk about budgeting money. They budget money because they know what's coming in. We have no idea what's coming, if we're going to get paid at all.
that's how a lot of businesses are right now.
This thought of budget. Well, it's our budget. We have a budget. You don't have a damn budget. You have to. Sometimes you got to be happy with what you've got.
Mel, we got to go. But so 2 spots opening up. College trustees.
Now, are they going to film or now? This doesn't break their quorum thing, so they could just lessen the amount of people they have.
They could. They could ride this out to November, I think, if they wanted to.
Now, if they
or they could appoint a couple people,
well,
and
who appoints?
The board appoints.
Well, if the
board, existing board members can appoint new board members.
Well, unless they put a selection committee on and just pick 1 or 2 to do the selection,
we'll see what happens. This will be interesting. We'll keep an eye on it, and we'll keep you up to date.
Oh, like trust? Should we like trust
trustee?
Trust the trustees.
Trustee, trust me.
Trustees.
All right. Well, we'll see how trusty we get them. Mel, we got to go. Mel Moore.
Buongiorno.